Hi, welcome to video number 3 in a Weed Awareness Week at Zamzows. I'm with Nolan Guthrie. I'm Josh Zamzo, and we're just answering the most common questions that a lot of people get. So Nolan, in a lawn like this one where there's weeds everywhere,
Yeah.
and I've already watched the previous video, so I know I need to fertilize and I need to water the lawn and set my blade up, but I want to know about a good weed and feed.
Right.
That's such a common question. What's a good brand of weed and feed to put on this lawn that would fertilize and kill the weeds?
Yeah, and that's and it really doesn't matter. They're all basically the same. If it's going to be a chemical-based fertilizer with something like 2,4-D in it, and that's pretty much all of them. And 2,4-D is a very old chemical, and when you apply it to this entire lawn, there's a whole bunch of areas that don't even have weeds, and so you're putting that that chemical down, and it's not going to do any good for you. You're just wasting that chemical, and you're applying way more chemical than you actually need to control them in the lawn. On top of that, it's a fertilizer that just doesn't feed very well. It's not designed for Treasure Valley. It's not designed for the lawns of Idaho, and that's why we, a couple years ago, we started talking about the feed, or the feed and then weed.
Right.
You want to feed the lawn first. We talked about that already. So you're using the weed killer part of that, and it's not very effective. If you've got something like dandelions, you might kill a fair amount of the dandelions there, but you're not going to kill clover. You're not going to kill thistle. You're not going to get rid of morning glory or bindweed. So those things are going to persist in the lawn, and you're going to have to do follow-up applications for those anyway.
Use even more weed
Right.
killer.
So then you have to use even more. Exactly. So it's just a good idea to feed the lawn first. That's, like we said, it's your first line of defense. And then once you've gotten it down and you're competing, now the grass is in good shape, it's competing with those weeds, the chemical you use is going to be even more effective, and you're going to use so much less to just go around and spot spray those little guys that show up here and there.
The other side also is just the limits of the delivery method.
Yeah.
People love how convenient it is to have a granular, but when you're trying to, anybody that's ever used a spreader, those little balls of fertilizer, they bounce all around everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And in order to kill a weed, you have to have a couple of those balls that have the weed killer in it happen to land on the weed and stay there until they get wet.
Right.
So what a lot of people recommend is you wet the lawn first and then put the stuff out, and you're jumping through all these hoops, and it's never as good as doing them separate.
It's almost funny is it's kind of portrayed as this convenience product, but it actually creates more work down the line. You're doing more applications, you're doing more work. You have to water first and then apply it, and then come back and do more. So you're not actually saving any time, and on top of that, you're using, again, way more chemical than you really need, than we need to be putting out there. And that's one of the things that we don't want to use more than we have to. We want to be good stewards of what we have and do it as effectively as possible.
Absolutely.